Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run. Of course, designed to keep you up to date on a fairly regular basis. And today I've got a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to get right to it. First and foremost, World of Tanks and a television show by National Geographic called Mega Factories. I think it also has another name in North America, Ultimate Factories. Not sure why that is, but Wargaming, the developer of World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, and World of Warships, has been featured on this show, and I highly suggest you check it out. It is pretty interesting, but why I even bring it up is because apparently there's some footage of mine in this show. It was brought to my attention by some viewers on Twitter and via my inbox, and they're like, hey, did you know that your stuff's in this TV show? I'm like, no, are you sure? And it's like, yeah, and I found it. Well, I found like a Russian version on YouTube somewhere, and about 3 minutes and 30-something seconds in, sure enough, there's, a clip of my Leopard prototype driving around, and then there's some scenes after that where I'm in the garage putting camouflage on my tanks. And they didn't ask me for it, they just kind of hijacked it, and it's so very short, only a mere few seconds long, that it's nothing to raise a stink about. It's kind of considered fair usage in regards to internet law, I guess. So I think it's kind of cool in a way because I've never had anything of mine in a show at all. You can clearly see, SideStrafe in the garage when I'm applying camo to a tank. So yeah, it's my stuff, and I think it's funny because it's footage that they could have easily gotten on their own, launch the game, apply camo to a tank, get a press account from Wargaming, do whatever. I mean, you're National Geographic. I'm sure that they could have gotten access to something. So I think it was almost more work to have to go on YouTube, find somebody's stuff, get the right clip that you need, download that, and then put it into your show. I don't know. That's just me, but I tend to be a little logical about things. However, I suppose it's cool, so I'm mentioning it. It's kind of neat. It's not a big deal. It's not like my face is in the show or something. It's just the gameplay. But I don't know. There's something about it. It's like, I did that. And there it is. National Geographic. Everybody knows who they are, so it's kind of cool. And so that's why I'm bringing it up. But it's a good show, regardless. You should try to find a copy of it. I know online there's a lot of Russian versions floating around. There's an English version as well. It's harder to find, and I think in North America, maybe the show hasn't even aired yet. I know on the website it says Friday, the 22nd of November at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to try to catch that. I'm sure that it will probably be made available on YouTube or some other website eventually, because it's still a new show. But yeah, you should definitely just check it out because it's a good program if you're interested in learning more about wargaming or what they're doing and how big they've become and how popular the game actually is these days. So yeah, just check that out, and I will try to notify you if I can find better links to it online. So moving right along to War Thunder. Ground Forces Beta is around the corner, and I will cover it when I can. I'm not really going to try to bust my butt to complete missions to get into beta. Hopefully, Gaijin will grant me some sort of press access, and maybe we can look at, finally getting you guys the content that you deserve in regards to guides, how-tos, you name it. So, looking forward to that. And if not, if they can't get me any type of access, then, well, we'll just wait and get you the content a little later, but at least it'll be good. So moving on from that, PlayStation 4. The launch of the PlayStation. Next generation is here. Okay, so I don't know why I had to say it like that, but I just did. So PlayStation 4, I am interested in it. Some of you have been wondering. I've been saying that yes, I do own a PlayStation 3. I'm a die-hard Uncharted fan. I've beaten all 3 titles. I think they're actually some of the greatest games ever created, period. I think that Naughty Dog was one of the only developers that knew how to take advantage of Sony's cell processor. I love what they did with it. I love the voice actors in it. I love the writing. I love just such a cinematic adventure. All 3 games were fantastic. They just kept getting better instead of worse, and that is rare because sequels tend to suck these days. Well, they probably have been for a while, so I shouldn't say these days, but anyway. So, yeah, I will eventually have a PlayStation 4. I almost bought one. I had it in my Amazon.com shopping cart at one point. Launch day, Amazon apparently had a magical shipment or stock that nobody knew about until the last minute. And I was like, okay, this stuff is going to be gone in 30 minutes to an hour. But as I was about to hit the buy button, I was like, why am I buying this? There's only one game that I'm remotely interested in, which was, of course, Killzone Shadowfall, even though I don't like playing shooters with a controller. So no, I won't be buying Battlefield 4 on a PlayStation. I won't actually ever buy a PC... I won't ever buy a console game if I can get it on the PC. So Killzone is something that's always PlayStation exclusive. I like the art style, I like the story, so I'm interested in it. But the thing was, do I want to pay $3.99 for the system and then another $60 for the game? Just for that one game, because it's going to be a while before there's something else available. I know that there's probably some indie games via the PlayStation Store maybe, but I don't know. So I was just really kind of indecisive at the time, and by the time I was going to hit the buy button, I was like, oh, you know what, let me just do it because they're going to be out of stock for like a month. And maybe I can, make videos or something, and even though they've got the HDCP issue that's still not resolved. I was going to do it. I go back to the cart and they're sold out, which I was like, you know what? I'm kind of relieved because the decision has been made for me. I don't have to spend the money right now and I can just wait. Because I'll tell you what, I know we got Uncharted 4 coming out. There's probably going to be an Uncharted bundle one day, but that could be well into next year sometime, or even, who knows? I mean, it's just a teaser. We don't know how much they've been working on. I'm sure it'll be great. I can't wait to see 1080p Uncharted, hopefully, because apparently Battlefield 4 runs at 1600 by 900, which is still better than what Xbox One does, which is only 720. So, you never know what they're doing. Really, it's PC hardware. They're not using a sophisticated cell processor anymore, so it's not going to be difficult for developers to crank out games at high quality. Killzone runs at 1080p, 60 frames most of the time, apparently. They've even got FXAA running, so it's, it's a capable system. And it's a dedicated gaming console, so the OS is built to handle games, unlike using a PC where you're dealing with Windows. So, hopefully these titles are going to be primarily 1080. I don't think that we should be seeing 720p games anymore on a console. Why? That's the whole point of going next gen. We've been doing 1080p for years on the PC. There's just no excuse at this point. So, there is that. So yeah, I am going to get a PlayStation 4. I'm curious. I know most of my community is PC-centric. How many of you would like to see PlayStation footage on the channel? I'll tell you right now, when it comes to shooters, I will be a bag of terrible with the controller. There's no way. It's going to take a while to practice and get good with that type of thing. But let's say I did have Killzone Shadowfall or something, would you want to see that? And again, Sony has to work out that HDCP that hardware copy protection thing out of the system before we can properly record footage. I know people are doing it, but there's workarounds you got to go through, and it's a big pain. It's not worth it. So, there's that I got to wait for, and then, I could, of course, live stream with it. Apparently, they've integrated it with Twitch, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, I'm interested in PlayStation 4. I'll be there for Uncharted. Destiny is a possibility because I guess, there was a rumor that the developer said, we would like to make Destiny on PC, but there has to be the demand or whatever. And so I don't know if that's going to ever happen. So I might end up with that on PlayStation. So there's that. And as far as Xbox now, sorry, I don't mean to break anybody's hearts, but I won't be purchasing an Xbox One. And the exclusives that I like are typically on Sony's PlayStation. So I don't think that there's going to be anything on Xbox that I'll want to touch. You never know, though. We'll see. I don't see it right now. Plus, I have an issue with Microsoft in general, so there's that. Beyond that, let's talk a little bit about Battlefield 4. Servers are getting a little bit more stable. There's still some glitches. There's still an issue with hardcore mode where the squad leaders don't have an icon above their head. Not your squad leader is fine, but everybody else's squad leaders that you see, there's no friendly indicator above their heads, so you don't see the star icon for squad leaders unless you actually hover over them with your gun or reticle. So it's quite problematic. It leads to a lot of friendly fire. So if you're playing hardcore mode and you're squad leader most of the time and you're wondering why your team is killing you, that's pretty much why. And no, it's not a feature because you can see everybody else's icons at all times as long as they're not squad leaders. And again, you can see your own squad leader. Like if you're in Charlie squad, you'll see your guy there. But if it's somebody, if you're in Charlie and you're looking at Alpha squad, you won't see their squad leader. So it's kind of game breaking because in a game where there's very little cooperation and there's 64 players blasting each other to bits, you have to have those icons. This isn't a game like Arma where it's a real simulation and you're working with people like a military unit. So in a game that's very deathmatchy like Battlefield, you have to have them. So that hurts hardcore a lot. Plus, hardcore mode is just a sniper engineer fest. There needs to be a class limitation system. It needs to be in the game. You need to be able to host your own server and set that. And I've talked about this quite a bit in my last strafing run, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But so I'm holding off on multiplayer servers still for that. Maybe if it gets a little bit more polished in the future, we'll see. But I actually finished the campaign for Battlefield 4, and as to be expected, it was disappointing. It had some cool looking moments where it's like, oh, this scene looks cool, or this level looks awesome. Oh, the weather effects, you know, because you almost have that, you know, the Shanghai level or the Chinese city levels, but there's, you know, crazy weather going on. The rain is hitting hard, the wind. It's beautiful levels, some really cool looking scenes, but otherwise, just like Battlefield 3's single player, it falls short. And in fact, the game is only really 4 hours long, which is nothing. There's some strange plot holes. The writing is just off. There's like a decision they have you make in the game that's like, what's the point? You're just having me make this decision just for the sake of a drama or effect. And on top of that, I'm not gonna spoil anything in case you do want to play it. I don't really recommend it, but you know, if you just want to, or if you need to unlock some sort of weapon or something. But your character ends up being a squad leader, and the thing is, your character's mute. You don't have a voice actor for the character you play. So it's like you're the squad leader, you're in charge, you're supposed to be making decisions, but you're just watching the other characters talk back and forth all the time and look at you like you are in charge, but actually they're the ones that are really in charge. So it's just, I understand some games where your main character, like the old-fashioned shooters like Half-Life, Doom, whatever, where your character's a mute. You know, it made sense back then, but today your character has to have a voice. You really do. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think that alone really just hurt the game. And I don't buy Battlefield for single player. I don't. And in fact, I think it's a waste of money for them to develop a single player component. And I think the only reason they do it is for marketing and to compete with Call of Duty. I don't get it. Just drop it, okay? EA, DICE, drop the single player. It's a waste. You're terrible at it. The last good single player you made was Bad Company 2, which was fractastically awesome. Bad Company 2 had amazing single player for some reason. The characters, the voice actors, the story, the length of the game, it was really long. You're always in control of everything. It was just great. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, maybe if you took the best moments of both those games and combined them, there might be something okay there, but BF3 was mostly a tech demo, and 4 was, you know, they put you more in control of your character, but it was just gimmicky duck hunt shooting, cool looking levels, you know, really cool fighting on aircraft carriers and things like that. Although they did overuse that. There's a lot of fighting on aircraft carriers. So it's just like they said, we have to make single player. Here, let's hurry up and do this. I mean, there's a lot of production value there, but in my opinion, money and resources better off spent on perfecting the multiplayer, which obviously had quite a few problems at launch and still continues to. Imagine if you would have taken the time to further develop and flesh out multiplayer instead of wasting it on single. Now, maybe it's even two separate teams that do both things, but imagine if you had that manpower with... frustrating. The decisions that grown adults make these days. These people that are CEOs of companies, you know, that are in charge of these developers. You don't know what you're doing. Go back to school. That's all I have to say. I'm pissed off about that crap. Getting tired of EA's garbage. You know why? Because guess what? Next game I'm going to talk about, Need for Speed Rivals. Frame rate locked at 30 FPS. And hold on, before you guys that are like, oh, another guy, PC Elite, is complaining about 30. Let me talk to you for a second. Okay, it's 2013. It's almost 2014. How are you today going to release a racing game that requires ultimate twitch reflex and timing, and on top of that, a racing game called The Need for Speed? You're gonna release that with a locked frame rate? What? Am I in another dimension? Like, what's going on? Is this Earth? I'm not sure that it is. How do you get away with that? Like, what's going on? And apparently the devs said that wouldn't be the case. They said, oh, it's going to be unlocked. Well, you lied. It's not. It's broken. Fix it. Hopefully they fix it, because it's a racing game. All of my other PC racing games run fine at 60 frames per second. And maybe you're saying, well, SideStrafe, I don't have a good computer. Lower your graphics settings. It'll run pretty good. It'll probably run better than on some console systems. But even with that said, it doesn't matter. We're next gen now, guys. No excuses anymore. Those excuses have to go away. Low resolutions and low frame rates, they have to go away. Nintendo Wii U's giving us 60 frames per second on their games. Maybe they don't look as great as others, but you got the gameplay that everybody loves. The last Zelda remake, it runs at 60 frames per second. Come on, guys. Nintendo's making better games than you. What are you doing? Really? You want Nintendo to make smoother running games than you? Come on, that's almost an insult. Not that Nintendo's a bad company, but I'm saying that you've got pretty little cartoon Link running around at 60 frames, but your badass hardcore Need for Speed game with cop pursuits is not gonna run at 60 frames. You're off your rocker. Because apparently the games run at 30 on the console too, and that's just stupid. Killzone Shadowfall is gorgeous and it's running at 60 frames. What is your excuse? It's open world. No, that's BS. There's plenty of open world games that run at 60. If you have to sacrifice certain graphical elements to get 60, then do it. Because when I'm driving around at 100 miles per hour, you think I'm gonna notice that texture on a building? No! That's the thing. I'm not going to notice certain things, so just scale down on those and just give me the frame rate. It's more important. Gosh, I feel like, what do I have to be, an educator? I'm 32 years old, but it's like, why am I still seeing this stuff? Why are things not getting better? And I was complaining about this stuff on my last strafing run, and I know probably some of you are like, oh, here he goes complaining again. Well, I'm doing it because it's the thing to do. Somebody has to man up, and grow a pair, and say something, and speak out against these people, because everybody else is too afraid to speak out against their favorite little game. Well, guess what? Your favorite game is being built by a different developer. It's not the same people. Maybe it's one or two guys, but those people leave those development companies. They're tired of the BS, and they go get a different job because that job sucks. If you ever had a crappy job, we all have. You leave that job because it stinks and you don't like your managers. Well, game developers do the exact same thing because they're tired of the BS. This is what happens. You think people stay at their jobs working for these EA companies, these EA developers all the time? Some of them do. They're the ones that are making tons of money, but the other ones are like, screw this. I'm not going to make this rubbish. I'm going to go move to an indie game. I'm going to start my own company. Do what I want to do. Make PC games. Or games that run at a proper frame rate. Or that have proper controls or visual fidelity. You know, it's just mind-boggling what they allow into the public, you know? It's a joke. And maybe they'll fix it. Maybe they will, because, again, they said that it was supposed to run at a higher frame rate on PC, at least. Maybe they'll fix it, and I'll eventually be able to buy it. But yeah, there's people out there that will argue with me. Oh, it plays properly. What's the problem? Oh, you elitist. What's wrong with 30 frames? There is something wrong with it, okay? There are scientific visual instruments out there that will show you the difference between 30 and 60. Your eye can tell the difference. It does affect the reflex time, and it's mind-boggling that there are people out there that just aren't educated enough to understand that in this day and age there should be no excuse, and that's why we have options again. You know, if you can't run it at 30, well, maybe one day you will be able to run it at 60, but don't you want that option? Don't you want to get that new computer and be like, wait, I got the new computer now, or I got this new console system. Yay, I can run things at 60. Oh, no, I can't. And there have been some games that have had some sort of technological excuse, like LA Noire by Rockstar Games. It was locked at 30 frames per second. They claimed that if you ran it at anything other than 30, it would break their facial animation technology. I can't say yes or no. Okay, maybe, whatever. And they also said that they wanted it to run at a lower frame rate to mimic more of a film look, but if that was true, then it would run at 24p. So I don't know how far that excuse is going to carry them. But, so beyond that, maybe it was the facial animation technology. Maybe it did break it. I know some people managed to unlock it, so I don't know if it did or didn't. But, so they were the only ones that at least tried to come up with some sort of real reason. Everybody else is just doing it for the sake of, I don't know. That's the way they think it should be, I guess. In some games, it's more noticeable than others. Because I'll tell you, I'm actually a Naruto fan. I like the Naruto anime, and, well, some of it. And, I had bought the new Naruto fighting game. And why? Well, because it's freaking gorgeous. I bought it on PC. It's gorgeous on PC with anti-aliasing turned up 1080p. It's beautiful, but it's frame rate locked at 30. It ticks me off, but I will say that it's not as noticeable in that game because you're used to seeing, 30 in the animation and whatever. But see, that's why I didn't complain about that, did I? Because it's more tolerable in that game than it is in a Need for Speed game. I still wish that the game would run at 60. Maybe it breaks something. I don't know. Maybe it breaks the cutscenes, because it always seems to be related to some sort of cutscene issue or some sort of synchronization issue online. I don't know. But, that's probably the reason for Need for Speed, maybe. But, again, the Naruto thing, when you play the game, it's very playable at 30. Very. It's still fast-paced. Yes, I wish it could be 60. There's probably a way to unlock it. I don't know if it breaks anything. We'll see. I just don't care that much. But I didn't complain about that because it was tolerable. But here I am complaining because it's not in a racing game called Need for Speed. Or any racing game for that matter. But I just think it's ironic that it's speed, So there's that. There's the major rant. I think those are the major rants for the day. Yeah, everything else from here on out will be positive. So if you're easily offended, I'm sorry. But this is a show called The Strafing Run. And if you look up what a strafing run is, you'll see that it's a fairly violent act of attack. So I think it's more than just a clever take on my nickname. But, again, guys, just a friendly reminder. This isn't an attack on you as the gamers. This is an attack on the developers, the publishers, really, because it's probably not even down to the developers. They probably have, like I said, a gun to their head from the publisher, from some guy in a suit who's like, oh, we got to get this out for this, do it, I don't care, cut this, cut that, just get it done, we'll patch it later. That's what's going on. And EA, just their reputation has been terrible for a very, very, very long time, and it doesn't seem to get any better, but it's because they don't care. We just keep giving them the money so that, oh, we need to make this much money. We made that and more. They're still buying it in spite of all this crap that we're doing. So let's just keep doing it. It's up to us to stop. Okay? Don't put up with it, and it's not going to happen again. The second you're if you're a PC gamer, you see something's frame locked, you decide what kind of game it is. Oh, it's a racing game that's frame locked? Bye. Don't even buy it. Don't even. Don't give them that satisfaction. Don't let them get away with that. Wait till they fix it, then go buy it. That's what I'm doing. I'll buy it. Second they fix that, it's mine. My finger was on the buy button on Origin until I saw a tweet that was like 30 frame lock. I'm like, nope, not happening. So I will buy that game the second that they fix that. You have my word. And I'll make videos about it because I love Need for Speed. So there's that. Arma. Let's see. Well, trying to figure out how to get a server for that up and running maybe, but the mods. Arma's not the problem. Well, Arma's the problem because they didn't ship it with any modes that just are simple. There needs to be a way to quarantine areas of the map to make them battlefield size, and then 2 teams fight each other. End of story. Conquest mode done. Okay, so I'm waiting for that. The mods out there that do offer that are pretty glitchy, buggy, messed up. Tried to drive over a chain link fence in an armored personnel carrier the other day, and it flipped up into the sky, and it was just all kinds of crazy. There's bodies flying all over the place, not because they're getting blown up, but because they're just floating through the air, and I don't know what's going on. I think the mods, I think Arma is inherently stable now. I think that just the mods are breaking things, so that's the problem. I don't want to use a mod for something that should have just come with the game, but we'll have to wait. I'm sure that maybe somewhere out there is a mod that will get it right, and we'll have a good time. So waiting on that. I got to do some more Sir You Are Being Hunted episodes. Having a lot of fun with that game. Fantastic. Definitely enjoying my time there. And it seems like some of you are enjoying watching it. Elder Scrolls Online beta test is this weekend. I think it's going to start Friday. And I have that loaded up. I did sign up for it. It's under a NDA, which means that I can't film anything, so I won't have any footage for you. I'm not super excited about it because what I've seen of it so far isn't that great. A little worried, actually, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Just go at it with an open mind, and hopefully it'll be good. I want it to be good. I haven't played... I mean, the last MMO that I really enjoyed is probably Star Wars The Old Republic, and even that game has its issues, but it's still kind of fun. And, you know, I'm looking for something else. There's obviously a lot of talk of what World of Warcraft is doing with their changes in the future, but I don't know if I ever really want to go back to that. So, I don't know, Elder Scrolls, I'm not a gigantic Elder Scrolls guy, you know, but I want it to be good. I want it to be a fun experience because I like some of the ideas they have. I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. You know, we're talking about a different team here that's working on this stuff, so it's anyone's guess. We'll find out. But I wish I could, you know, throw up some footage for it. But again, NDA, so I can't. So we'll have to wait. Beyond that, I'm also working on a project outside of YouTube that unfortunately I can't really talk about. But it has been a partial reason for the lack of content lately on the channel. So I just wanted to address that. I will, of course, share when I'm allowed to. And kind of excited about it. So I'm looking forward to that. But, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I have to thank you so very much for joining me. It is always a pleasure delivering content to a usually great community. You know, it's hard working with YouTube because this whole Google Plus integration thing has been a gigantic nightmare. I'm not going to get into it because it's going to turn into a whole other rant that, trust me, I could go an hour on. And it just needs to stop. I'm just tired of greedy corporations trying to shove things down people's throats. So, anyways, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful to have viewers that are open-minded and considerate and willing to put up with me on a regular basis. It does mean a lot because, you know, trying to do this for a living can be difficult. It's not just fun and games. Really, it isn't. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I don't think people realize that. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so very much for joining me. I will definitely see you on the next one.